Family systems theory. The family is an emotional unit, and systems theory helps describe the complex interactions within the unit. So the family as a system is any set within their own traits that relate to each other in a way that creates a super identity. So much like when baking cookies, the ingredients are interdependent on each other to create a flavorful cookie, and when one ingredient is off, it affects the entire batch. Together, everyone achieves more, but also the ingredients together are different than if they were paired with something else. For example, eggs Benedict or chocolate by itself. In the same way, this goes for people like a woman in a mother role or in a daughter role. Family roles. Through dialogue and interactions, families create shared meanings or expectations on how roles are to be played. So parent responsibility versus child responsibility, which would be traditional, or dysfunctional, would be a parent being codependent on a child. Hierarchy is the power is divided into subsystems, which helps the family function better to meet their goals. There are three primary subsystems within the hierarchy, which is parents, spousal, and sibling. Boundaries. A family maintains boundaries by filtering out external elements that are not aligned with their goals to incorporate more beneficial ones. Types of boundaries are open, which is the most healthy boundary. This family is flexible, easily adopts and accepts anything from the outside. Another type is closed. Family members are overly involved with each other and individual identities are not allowed. They have little exposure to outside influences and they are not accepted. Random, which means there's no real clear boundaries and for what is accepted, and it can be a little chaotic. Feedback loops. The response a family member makes in reply to the behavior of another person, particularly when the person deviates from existing patterns within the family. So a family is self-regulating. When something disrupts homeostasis, the family tries to regain through feedback. There can be positive feedback when the family accepts and adjusts the homeostasis to a new norm, and there can be negative feedback when a family rejects the new pattern and attempts to restore homeostasis. How family systems theory relates to deciding about parenthood. Families as a system ranges from a couple, one-child family, single mother by choice, adoption, multi-partner fertility, and more. Within the couple subsystem, there is a clear authoritarian role in who is deciding about parenthood. Some open boundaries within a family could be talking with others about how they want to postpone childbearing or pursue adoption instead and gain insightful information from others. Some closed boundaries could be not willing to discuss such sensitive topics such as infertility or explore multi-partner fertility with others and failing to seek outside help. Feedback loops could be when a teenage pregnancy occurs in the family and they need to decide whether to keep the baby and adjust their homeostasis or reject the pregnancy and either abort or give up for adoption. Some critiques on family systems theory. It needs to be enhanced to better incorporate families from a cultural view because different cultures might address situations differently. Another critique is this theory is too general and lacks important distinctions. Major concepts are too vague to make clear predictions. And last, it excludes different types of families that are not homogeneous. For example, it doesn't include LGBTQ families, multi-generational families, non-nuclear families that are not seen in this theory.
Family stress theory fertility. Fertility is different for every woman on this earth. Many factors plays a role in fertility. There's age, there's background, there's the region of the world that you live in. Many health factors plays a role. But today we're going to focus on fertility when it comes to the United States. Fertility has decreased over the years for women in the USA. Over time, we have seen lower replacement level fertility, which means Fertility has not been able to replace our population over the years. From the Great Depression on to now, we have seen a decrease in fertility. This adds stress onto couples because they have to decide, if we can't conceive what is looked at as a natural way, what other roles can we take? Some people may look into IVF, some people may look into adoption, some people may look into surrogacy, and many more other options. This is a very stressful process, no matter which way it happens for you or which way the family decides to conceive and add on to their family. Each process is very stressful and has its own long journey. Finances. Finances is one of the biggest factors when it comes to becoming parents. Rather you are a new couple adding a child for the first time, or you've already been down this road before. Finances is definitely a conversation that many couples need to have. And this question has to be, what's the opportunity cost? In other words, how much am I willing to sacrifice? No more vacations, no more eating out. The enjoyment and the things that I used to enjoy may have to go away. And this needs to be understood. Can we pay our bills? Do we need to downsize? Do we need to upgrade? There's many factors that comes into having children. And it's said that most couples around the world are stress deprived because of finances. The finances aspect of taking care of children will always be expensive. You have a child to take care of, most likely from birth until they graduate high school or reach 18 years old. How does this affect our family dynamics? Happiness. For couples, happiness is very important. Some people may even say love isn't strong enough or love doesn't matter in couples, but happiness is a factor. It is said that children stabilizes relationships, especially when they're younger in age. A lot of times when children are younger in families, they bring happiness and they bring joy and they bring a sense of togetherness within the family. It's also said that the younger a couple is, the more likely they are to become stress and to have an increase of stress due to the everyday stressors that they may experience. And this is very, very true when it comes to new couples that are deciding to start a family and have a child or children for the very first time. And we're seeing more and more today that couples are choosing to marry later on in age and to have children later on in life. And many of them are stating that they're choosing to do this to avoid as many stressors as possible. Some people say that they would like to be a little more financially stable, a little bit more stable in their relationship, and a little bit more mature in life to be able to handle their relationships or their family dynamic, as well as handle parenthood.
When looking into attachment theory, we start off with Mary Ainsworth's stranger situation. We learn that if a mother leaves her child alone in a room with a stranger and comes back, children have a very real response to abandonment, even at a young age. This connects to John Bowlby's theory of imprinting. Imprinting is something we hear in animals, but it is true for babies as well. Whether your child is 6 months old or 3 years old, it has imprinted on you since birth and will remember you forever. Abandonment is psychologically threatening at all ages. Now, this relates to deciding on parenthood because although adoption is an option, you must realize that that child will remember you for the rest of its life, and it will feel abandoned for a very long time. And if you ever do end up meeting this child again, there will be serious psychological traumas. Now, what does this have to do with deciding about parenthood? Well, it all stems down to what we talked about earlier in the presentation. Are you ready for a child? Not only in the financial areas, but truly mentally. We have learned how important it is to understand how much a child will take a toll on your daily life. I want you to take a minute with me and reflect on yourself. When you reflect on your life right now in your current situation, do you have extra time in your day? After work, are you busy doing other things, or do you have a little leeway with your time? Are you busy? Do you go out every night? Whichever it is, do you have extra time in your day right now? Do you mentally have the capacity to take care of a baby right at this moment? And I know it's hard to think about, but if we imagine somebody dropped a baby off at your door right now, and you took that baby in, could you take care of that baby for the next month? Could you take care of them for 6 months? How about 18 years? I am asking you these questions because although parenthood is a huge blessing, it is an even bigger responsibility. You must be at a point in your life where you have a lot more to give out and you are willing to give that energy out to a human being. Now, this is all important because of attachment theory. If you are not sure you want a child and end up resenting your choice, then you will end up putting that onto your child. When you stop comforting the child every time it cries because you just need a break, whether it just starts as once a day, then twice a day, and you might not just be able to take it anymore. It's eating away at you. You don't have any sleep or anything. Well, that child starts to feel as though they're not worthy of love. And not only that, you are no longer worthy of their trust. They can't trust that you'll be there for them, and they don't feel like you love them enough to be there for them. When a baby decides it can no longer trust that you will be there, that's when we start seeing them compartmentalizing as they grow older. It affects their relationships in all aspects of life. I know it might seem daunting, but the simple act of not paying attention to your child enough when they are clearly begging for it will cause them to either stop crying as they know they won't get a response, or they won't stop crying even though you're holding them. Why? Because you left them so many times crying alone in the dark that they don't actually trust that you care about them when you finally pick them up. I know it seems like a lot, but in the next clip I will show you a little diagram that might help me explain. Okay guys, I just want to explain this diagram real quick for you. So on the left, we're going to see different personalities, I guess you could call it, or different ways that a child was raised. If a child was raised in a secure environment, loving parents who had time for the child, who were able to take care and tend to their needs, are going to have this type of personality, view of partner, view of self. The anxious and ambivalent child is going to be the one where, you're not paying as much attention. You might get overwhelmed and stressed, and having a child is just so much work. And so you start to kind of stop going to them when they're crying or when they need certain things, and you need a break. And that child ends up to stop giving you signs of when they need to be coddled or when they need some emotional relief. And that creates an anxious and ambivalent child. And these are all the things that could happen as they grow up that could be a result of poor parenting. And then the last one is going to be avoidant. Avoidant is the child that we talked about where they're going to cry and they're going to express their feelings, but when you coddle them, they're not going to feel safe. They're not going to feel loved because in the past you ignored them and you took time for yourself instead of them. And these children end up being avoidant as they get older. They're very fearful. They don't trust anyone. So it's just kind of an example and to kind of give you a diagram of what can happen in the future stages of life if you are not ready for parenthood. But yeah, we just wanted to make this video that explains that parenthood is the most blessed and amazing thing, but we must all be prepared and understand how much time it truly takes to take care of kids.